with that all sounds great, right? We understand the problems that can go wrong. We all kind of understand, some of the mini fixes we can have in there. So let's really define what a test automation strategy actually is. Really simply put, it's a microcosm of your larger testing strategy. A lot of the same techniques that you will follow to develop and build a testing strategy will be the same for a test automation strategy. And we'll kind of go over some of those here in a little bit, but if you are in the position of maybe you don't have a testing strategy, so you don't have anything to pull that microcosm out of, you can follow a lot of these same types of rules and guidelines that we're going to set forward to help build that overall testing strategy. Because really what it all is your test automation is simply a piece of your testing strategy that has all of these various bits in here, your tools, types, performance, your quality criteria, and it sits on the same level as your other system testing, your NFR, your non-functional requirement testing, so your performance testing, where you're using a lot of the same data points to drive into the answer of what do we automate, how do we automate it, what technology makes the most sense. But you should be answering or have the ability to answer a lot of those same types of questions for your system testing and your product testing as well. So I really love this. And this gives us a really kind of a good way to say, well, test automation strategy doesn't live outside of our larger test strategy. We really should kind of bring it in, use the same type of processes we are using to build the overall test strategy. If we don't have that, let's go ahead and start laying that groundwork of what tools do we need? What sort of personas do we have, right? Who essentially is, who are we testing for? What do our users do? What are our developers doing? Your elements, your quality criteria, metrics, all those things, and similarly help drive your test automation strategy. So, we talked a little bit about what happens when you don't have an overall test strategy, as well as, obviously finding out that a test automation strategy is really just, a smaller piece of your larger test strategy. So why do we really care about a strategy for test automation then? So I believe it is the role of, quality professionals to inform. We inform on the risk, we inform on the capabilities, we inform on the functionality. And test automation is a very strong way to have a reliable, repeatable process to inform. As well as, strategy is a way to communicate, right? A lot of times we use strategies to communicate. We'll talk about here in a little bit, about what a strategy really is in terms of it. Is it a document? Is it, a PowerPoint? Is it, a diagram? We'll talk about that here in a minute, but each one of those has the ability to communicate what your goals are, what your plan is, and really what your objective is for the reason why we're even doing test automation in the first place. Additionally, it kind of building upon the communication piece, it provides a discussion starter to where you can say, hey, we would love to do this. Right, this we believe is a good idea. Here's the reasons why. Here's how it ties into the business, and allows you to essentially springboard onto potentially a proof of concept or the ability to develop or bring a new technology into the company. As well as quite frankly, coming from the financial technology sector as well as the healthcare sector, your test automation strategy is useful for audit purposes, right? Where you can kind of go back and look and say, hey, here's what we plan to do, and then you can compare it against what was actually done to make sure that we're following the rule sets and the compliance rules and everything that we need to follow. So those are not all encompassing about the reasons why we care, but we found through the various mentoring sessions and working with these technology professionals that these are really some of the key reasons why we're finding organizations and individuals wanting to have a test automation strategy. So we mentioned here just a second ago the ability to effectively communicate, and so we do get this question a lot in terms of do we have to have a full-on 70-page Word document for our testing strategy? And the answer is definitely no. You can have a living document. It can be an idea that lives in a mind map. In fact, I love mind maps for test automation strategies. They work wonderfully and beautifully. So if you're not familiar with mind maps, highly recommend take a look at what they are, how to use them. There's a lot of great YouTube tutorials on there, as well as sketches where you can have essentially, I'm just going to sketch out some ideas, going to write some rough notes, and that could essentially develop into your testing strategy. So the main takeaway here is that don't think of a testing strategy as I have to go in, I'm going to write this long, big document. Think about it of, hey, we can actually start with ideas and that's okay. And we can present that as a rough strategy to be able to then drive into your living and working document. So, it's just a great way to, kind of approach that of saying, you don't have to, boil the ocean or, as my wife and I love to watch Hometown a lot. And one of the phrases they have there when they're having to like redo real big houses is, how do you eat a whale? And the answer is one bite at a time. And this is much the exact same way, right? You have to have, a place to start, and it's okay to start small. That's totally fine.